All right. Okay. So again, thanks everyone for being here. We are going to be starting our first session for the month of June, no, wherein our theme is championing diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And for this specific topic today, we're going to talk about workplace inclusion for the new normal. So my name is John Baluyot, and I'm going to be your host and also your moderator for this event. I'm also the CEO of Positive Workplaces, and I was the 2020 president of the Philippine Society for Training and Development. So it's now called Philippine Society for Talent Development. Right. Some reminders. Okay, for the people in the room, we will be using Mentimeter a lot during the session. And you know this because when you are in a positive workplaces learning session, we always encourage involvement. We always encourage engagement. So if you have an extra device, that will add to your experience because then you will be able to participate using a different device. Or if not naman, you can just go to the link through the chat box and use another browser to be able to participate sa Mentimeter. We will teach you also how to use it later if it's the first time that you're doing so. All participants will be on mute initially because syempre we want to be able to control the distractions. Otherwise, you might get disconnected because naririnig nyo may mga tumitilaok na manok on your background or may aso na tumatahol or may nagbibideo na kapitbahay. So, sometimes unintentionally, hindi natin na-mute yung sarili natin. So, we would be putting you on mute, but your voice will still be here because you can participate anytime in the chat box. And you will also have a lot of opportunity to participate later in Mentimeter. Again, and this is something that a lot of our participants are looking for. Certificates will be available for those who will answer our post-evaluation. This is very important as a reminder. Number one, the post-evaluation link will be sent in the chat box later. Please, wag niyo po kaming awayan pag minsan hindi niyo nakikita yung post-evaluation link because we really put it on the last end of the workshop. And if you answer that, automatically it will generate a certificate for you. It will be active for 30 minutes from the time we send and share the certificates to you. Right? Please write your full names whenever you're answering that post-evaluation because your full names would also be the same information that will appear in your certificate. All right? So certificates will be in the post-evaluation link later. Please stay until that time so that you will be issued a certificate of attendance. Okay? So I hope that's clear for everyone, ha? Kasi this is a very important reminder. The reason why we're doing this is because we don't have a lot of resources. So we cannot manually process certificates. So it's very hard for us to always address emails about asking for certificates if there's a lot of you who will do so. So automated na yung process. Kaya importante that when we share the post-evaluation link, you are able to answer it within 30 minutes from the time that we share it to everyone. Okay. So again, we are Positive Workplaces. And our mission is to co-create cultures that enhance the well-being of the Filipino workforce. Alam niyo po, sobrang hirap ng sitwasyon natin ngayon, no, during the pandemic. Hindi natin alam yung mga pinagdadaanan ng mga tao, maraming nahawaan na ng virus, maraming may namatay sa pamilya, marami sa atin na punong-puno sa trabaho kasi hindi rin makapag-adjust ng maayos because of all of the limitations in the pandemic. So we felt that it was very important to have an organization just like ours to be able to help people with their well-being. Kasi sobrang affected po yung well-being natin. Alam niyo po ba na based on a survey and a study done by McKinsey and also Deloitte, no, similarly, 1 out of 3 people are experiencing symptoms of anxiety. 1 out of 4 of those people are experiencing distress. And a lot of those people who are experiencing distress, they're translating to depression. So it's very important that we become mindful on how we can help one another with our well-being. Okay? So yan po ang reason why Positive Workplaces is here. And one of the ways by which we are helping people with their well-being, of course, is knowledge. We want to equip them and their organizations on how they can co-create those positive cultures. And this is one of those. We want knowledge to be accessible to everyone. That's why this webinar is free. That's why we are doing 3 webinar sessions every month on certain themes. And the theme for this month is championing inclusivity and diversity in the workplace. And our topic is workplace inclusion in the new normal. And we have none other than Mr. Ronil Villacorta. So he's one of the board of the trustees of the Philippine Financial and Inter-Industry Pride. He's also the head of marketing operations of ANZ Manila Service Center. So si O'Neill started his workplace inclusion journey in 2010 when he set up Thomson Reuters Pride Network chapter in the Philippines. And in 2013, he moved to ANZ and had strengthened the ANZ Pride Network Employee Resource Group. Hello, O'Neill. Mabuhay ka. How are you?
Thank you very much, John, for having me. I am excited to be part of this activity this afternoon. I cannot wait. And similar to what you have said, uh, it's a fantastic opportunity to hear about workplace inclusion.
Right?
And I'm excited to share my experiences and my journey with our audience this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Onil. No? And we also would like to emphasize that, of course, like we love collaborations in positive workplaces. And one of the reasons why we're living so vibrantly like this is because of the collaborators that we have. So if you see in the lower portion of this PubMat, PFIP is one of our main collaborators for this month. We also have Loyola Schools Gender Hub, and we also have Youth for Mental Health Coalition. So sila yung mga tumulong sa atin to come up with speakers and facilitators who can help us out in this month's free webinar journey. All right? And siguro so that we can also supplement more knowledge about where Onil came from, I'm going to play a video about PFIP.
We started our journey in 2013 with 5 companies, growing to 54 members in 2020. From Philippine Financial Industry Pride to Philippine Financial and Inter-Industry Pride, we are expanding our reach and influence. To guide our member organizations as they build safe, inclusive, and welcoming workspaces for all talent, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. And to support up-and-coming self-identifying LGBT+ leaders with their continued professional development. Our annual PFIP Pride Summit is recognized as the largest gathering of D&I leaders and champions in the country, winning in 2019 the Gold Standard Award for Diversity and Inclusion from Public Affairs Asia. We are making an impact to our chosen communities. As we strengthen our resolve to promote diversity and inclusion in the workplace. In 2020, amidst many challenges, we carried on. Engaging our membership through virtual platforms, we continued the important conversations on inclusivity and belongingness. We rallied our members to be culture carriers and change agents to help build our new normal. And on our 7th year, with support from allies and friends, PFIP will strengthen its leadership role in the industry and our community, with sustainable and scalable programs that promote the business of inclusion. We will champion more diverse talents by including more local businesses to our roster and partnering with organizations with a similar vision. From Baguio to Metro Manila to Cebu, across the Philippines, LGBT plus professionals will be able to bring their best, most authentic selves to their chosen workplace. This is the PFIP vision, to be the leading voice and champion of workplace inclusion.
All right. Okay. Such an amazing video. Was that your voice on it?
Oh my God, John, you watching that, I have seen that video like 100 of times already, and it still gives me goosebumps. I think that the journey for workplace inclusion has been really, really good
Mm,
for us. I say that in all honesty, but at the same time, we understand that there's a lot more things that needs to be done. Majority of the member organizations that are member of PFIP are multinational organizations.
mm,
Hence, in that video, John, you would hear that our objective and our focus for this year and in the coming years is to have local engagement, to
right.
have local organization join PFIP. So really sorry, I am just overwhelmed just watching that video again, and really happy, made me proud to actually see that the organization actually grow that this big.
Yeah, and thank you so much for, founding it, on it. Because it's not very easy to do something like that, especially if it wasn't a popular, like for example, if it wasn't a popular belief system or if it wasn't a popular movement during the time that you started it or even before that. So thank you for making that room for us in your life so that more people can actually benefit from workplace inclusion. Now, now we've been sharing a bit of about ourselves, about positive workplaces, about PFIP. I want us now to be able to dig in deeper on the psyche of the audience, about inclusion. No? And let me start that with Mentimeter. So for those who have not yet tried Mentimeter, all you have to do is to click on the link in the chat box that our tech a tech person Gio has shared, and you can answer this question. So imagine your experience of being excluded, whether in school, at home, or at work, or in any community for that matter. And it doesn't have to be like an LGBTQ related exclusion. No? Just imagine your experience of being excluded. Can you share words that describe how that felt? And we will be seeing some of your responses in Menti. And don't you worry, when you answer in Menti, it's very safe because we don't see who you are, right? We don't care who you are. Just share the emotions that you're feeling. Like, what are words that describe how you feel when you were excluded, right? So you're seeing a lot of responses from people in the room now, no?
Right. Absolutely. And these are feelings that it's difficult, no, John?
It
To
is.
be able to see and feel sad. I mean, you can be sad in all aspects and it at all level. But I guess for the context of it, the being excluded part, it's as if, John, that that there's you have a group of friends or your classmates,
Mm,
and somebody's celebrating his or her birthday,
mm,
and this person, not really really close friend, but you were not invited.
right,
So
right.
how will you feel? Geez. So I will probably be feeling the same thing.
That's true. And this is on top of what we're feeling right now, Onil, no? Like in the perspective of a pandemic, wherein a lot of people are confused. Can you imagine feeling all of these other emotions? And by the way, to everyone who's answering, thank you so much. These emotions are all valid, huh? There is no bad emotion because emotions are signals, right? Emotions are signals. It's telling you something that your body is telling you, that your mind is telling you about yourself. So you always acknowledge which emotions you are feeling right now. And it's very nice to see, number one, that you can acknowledge your emotions because you can articulate them on the screen. That's very important. But the second important one is that you are not alone in experiencing this. Kasi a lot of people could actually still be experiencing all of these sad feelings. No, Onil?
I agree. And sometimes, in the LGBT context, we would not want to be treated differently. We
Hmm.
actually wanted to just be treated equally.
Yeah,
And I can see here one word that, about feeling different.
yeah,
um and sometimes it's a valid emotion, similar to what you have said, no, but it's definitely all of this. I'm sure that one way or the other, regardless of your situation, we have experienced this, the
right.
frustration, discrimination, being left behind. These are the feelings that, can you imagine
And and
having
Onil,
this feeling?
I have a
Yeah.
question for you. In the workplace, for example, if you are a person who experiences the sadness or being alone or being left behind, how do you think that affects you as an employee?
Well, I think it would make me feel demotivated.
Right.
I'll cite an example for you. I'm the type of person who's a goal getter. They call me ever since like a some sort of a teacher's pet.
Yeah.
I just don't know about my personality and my character. It's just people gravitates towards my personality. So and my teachers would always say that, oh yeah, they people actually think sometimes that I'm being given special favors,
Yeah.
but I compensate it in a way that it's because of my performance.
Yeah.
I do not let, I think that relationship kind of hinder in terms of how I perform. I remember when I was working in my first job, because I'm that B-boy, no, John.
Mhm.
I'm that B-boy in terms of, task, etc. Madaming mga kailangan gawin. I will always raise my hand and I will volunteer. No?
Very Hermione
And then
Granger, no?
John, people and my teammates at that time would resent me. I was
Yeah.
like, I know, sure. I was like, there will come a time that I will eat alone,
Yeah.
that I will just come into the office, just doing my work and interacting primarily with my line manager and not with my peers.
Right.
Primarily because they don't like me. I don't know. I mean, that feeling of being, imagine eating alone. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not a good experience at all.
And imagine, Onil, no, you spend what? More than 8 hours of your waking life in the workplace. Tapos feeling alone and excluded in that setup. 'Di ba? It's not something that you will likely be productive with, or even if you're productive, parang the happiness part naman doesn't kick in. And that's one of the main effects of exclusion, no? We might not be noticing it if we are the source of exclusion, but these are the types of emotions that we're making other people feel, 'di ba? And sometimes, because we don't know that we're doing it, we keep on doing it day on day, right? And
Right,
it
right.
can be on anything, no? It can be on anything that made you feel another person is excluded. Now, let's try to move to the more positive side. Okay? So people can
I
stay,
like that.
yeah, people can stay in Menti. This is a research done by Forbes. And the question now here is, in relation to being accepted naman, like imagine you being appreciated for who you are. Like imagine you being part of an organization that you were accepted, whether it's your family, whether it's your school, whether it's your office, 'di ba? Minsan we can't come out to our family, pero we can come out in the office. How does that feel? Ano yung sa tingin yung nabe-benefit ng organizations because you can be who you are? right? Can you answer Mentimeter? Again, the Menti link is in the chat box. So can you answer, ano sa tingin niyo yung nabe-benefit ng organization pag nararamdaman nyo yung benefits ng inclusion? Sige nga, let's see. Ayan, we're seeing na the percentages
I
moving.
know, really good responses.
Yeah. So for everyone who hasn't caught up with the response yet, again, you can go to the chat box and you will see the Mentimeter link there, right? And ayan, Onelo, we can see some of the responses here already. And
Right.
mukhang may mga dominant responses tayo na nakikita on it, no?
I know. There are three components, and which is really important, no, to an organization. Relationship, engagement, your productivity, the output, which is very important in running a business,
Mm,
as well as retention. No,
right,
so these are really, really three major benefits of being included and being who you are and your authentic self
right.
in the workplace. And John, just to share with you an experience, no,
Yeah.
when I established the Pride Network, the business resource group for Thomson Reuters in 2019, I kind of felt that this will be my retiring organization,
Wow.
because this is where I will bring my whole authentic self to work without people judging me, and without people looking at who I am, my sexual orientation, my gender. It's based out of output, no?
Mm,
It's based out of how I deliver.
right.
What is expected, of me from my leaders. So if only I was not redundated because they downsize the organization, I would have stayed, and that is primarily the reason why I am still with ANZ.
Right.
So I joined ANZ in 2013, and I have been working with them since then. So it's eight years
Mm,
working with ANZ. It's because I'm able to bring my whole authentic self to work, without any issues or concerns or any worries that people will judge me. No,
right.
and just to share with you, no, John, in being part of this organization, I'm very lucky, because aside from engagement, interpersonal relationship with other people, and increase in productivity, how well you manage a team and your business, it's about retention as well. I
Right.
remember, John, I ask myself, when I'm in my current company, ANZ, um, I said, who would have thought that being gay will be able to experience going to Australia and
Mm.
attend the Sydney Mardi Gras.
Oh my God. That's
Uh,
such an amazing
I know,
experience.
right? So technically I represented the Philippines, and the company actually sent me there to represent the Philippines and show our force, in saying that ANZ is an organization that embraces respect,
Mm,
diversity, and inclusion. No, so imagine, I mean, I was sent there to attend a parade
mm. Ah,
and meet with other colleagues. So it's a really, really fantastic experience. So
yeah.
really good.
Onel, I really love what you mentioned a while ago about authenticity, no? Kasi like authenticity is being thrown in as a buzzword everywhere right now. Na authenticity is important, etc. Why do you think you feeling that you're authentic mattered in your performance at work? Kasi like people are
Because
showing here, di ba? Saying na there are better
yeah,
interactions, increase in productivity, higher employee retention. Why do you think the authenticity that comes with inclusion is important?
because it removes your how would I say it? Um, Nawawala yung inhibition mo when you're
Right,
authentic.
Right.
I feel that when you're authentic, you can express yourself, no, without the worry of people judging you,
Right.
no. But of course, you have to conduct yourself professionally.
Mm.
I always believe, John, that how you conduct yourself is very important for people to see your true authentic self.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that being authentic means that you can be just whatever in all. Hindi naman pwedeng authentic ka na burara ka or something, no, that you could be super loud in
Mm.
a professional setup. So you have to conduct yourself professionally, and adjustment needs to be done too, you
Right.
know. And depending on the circumstances, depending on what you do as well, being authentic is something that will allow you to progress
Right.
and to be successful, no.
Right.
So that's how I see it,
I like what you
because you
said.
don't have to put on a mask,
Agree.
John, when you're authentic, right? So you don't have to pretend.
Right.
It's about showing yourself, and people will see right through it.
Correct. Correct. I love what you said about ano no. Like I think the reason why a lot of these effects are coming out is because people who are authentic, they tend to be less inhibited to be who they are and do the performance or impact that they can make. I remember, Onel, if you don't mind, I can share a little bit of my story. Like when I entered college, I wasn't out yet then. I wasn't out then in college. Tapos I was such an average performer. I was a bit hesitant, so I joined the debate team. But the debate team provided me with a good acceptance to whoever I was. So even when I was in college, I wasn't out. I felt that I was accepted. Right? I felt that I was accepted by the group. And mind you, I realized that I have average IQ lang pala. Like I don't have like as high as IQ as other people. But I thrived in that debate organization because I knew that I could be who I was and that if I just put in a lot of diligence and like sipag, di ba? Para dun sa debate team, I will eventually win something. I will eventually make an impact. And lo and behold, I started really to place in tournaments and I started to win some tournaments also. And it's not very easy because I didn't come from like Ateneo or UP, ganyan and stuff. And that really helped me because when I felt accepted, I felt that more than the authenticity, it's also that feeling of safety, 'di ba? Whenever you feel that you are in a safe place, you do not feel that you cannot fail. Kasi it's okay to fail in that safe place. And I think that's what a lot of people could be feeling as well when you mentioned na you can be less inhibited pero still be respectful of what your personality is. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And John, just to leverage on that as well, I've been working since 2002,
Mm,
2002, when I started working, and I have always wanted uh to do a role that is that will involve talking to people, no,
yeah.
interacting with people. Hence, I did not practice my engineering degree. I
Oh,
have a degree in electronics and communication engineering, so I finished it for 5 years. Unfortunately, I didn't pass the board. And then my first job was a call center agent.
mm,
I was a call center agent for a directory assistance company in 2002, because of that passion of talking and meeting other people. But at that time, John, leveraging on what you said too, I was not out. I
yeah.
was not out. In the office, I would just like the Onil, the macho guy, etc. I actually didn't come out up until I'm 25 years old. So late bloomer. Late bloomer ako. So in essence, what happened was when I came out when I was 25, um, I started to see my career progress.
Yeah, true. That's so true.
It's because I was like, finally, I don't have to put on a mask or a shield in terms of expressing who I am. So I don't have to be conscious that my voice needs to be really, low. I can be who I am as long as I be able to communicate what's on my mind, no,
Yeah,
and produce result. I think that's what is important. I
right.
started to see my career progress when starting with Thomson Reuters in 2009,
Mm.
when I'm finally out and free, and say, you know what, this is it. And I started to see myself progress. And
Right.
I have been really fortunate to have had organization acknowledge all the efforts and all the output, not because of who I am, but because of what I have delivered.
Correct. And it's not just within us, no only. Because like for example, these benefits that you see in the screen, these are actual benefits that were studied by a lot of research outfits. And how that benefited organizations. That's why a lot of
Right.
organizations are now starting their own programs on diversity and inclusion. Because it's not just about the individuals na ngayon, you know? When the individuals are happy and they feel that they can express themselves, then it affects productivity, it affects retention, and it affects interpersonal
Mm,
interactions within the workplace, right? So it has that
absolutely.
organizational effect. Now, let's go to a like meteor question on it, no? And I know that you've been waiting for this. Like I would like to engage. I would like to engage people in the Zoom room, and we're going to use the annotate function, everyone. Okay. So for those of you who don't know the annotate function, you answer this question using text. Why do you think is ma'am sir normal na nowadays? Yung sinasabi natin ma'am sir, ganyan, narinig niyo sa SM or narinig niyo sa mga retail stores. The way you use annotate is you look at your Zoom functions and then click annotate button, tapos click text. Alright? So anong gagawin ko? I'm going to click my screen now, the Zoom screen, and then I'm going to encode. Why is ma'am sir normal na nowadays? Why do you think? And then I'm going to encode in the screen so that you will be able to see my response. So I was the one encoding here. Yan. So can you try that out also? Diba? Can you try it out in your screen then? So you just click annotate and then click text and then start encoding your response. So people are saying respect. Some people are saying na nagiging habit na siya. Some people are saying it's becoming more common to people now. They're being more open now. Some people are saying, ito Onil, they are now saying that these are respect for people's pronouns. Di ba? Kasi it's
And this is what we're talking about, John. I think this is what we're talking about. It's and nagiging habit na siya in essence because out of siguro out of pagod, no? Instead of saying or magkamali ka in addressing a person, a sir or a ma'am, you just combine both. You just do ma'am, sir. And I'm sure that all of us have experienced this already, going inside a mall or going into 7-Eleven, and when they greet you,
mm,
ikaw lang yung papasok, pero the introduction or the greeting is, good morning, ma'am, sir. I was like, "Ah, I'm the only one going inside. The
yeah,
tendency is for you to look around and say, I mean, do they know?
yeah. And ito, this is another one honor that someone wrote, increase awareness. So people
Right,
are becoming more and more aware and sensitive siguro of what's happening around. That sometimes that increased awareness is translating into language, right? That's
right.
translating into language now. Oh,
And
another
I
this is
think
another thing, look, Onel. And this is related to your to your industry also, di ba? It's starting to
the
become part
part
of customer service, di ba?
and it's because and I think generally and primarily because um we are respectful individuals. You know,
Totoo.
Filipinos are respectful, no?
Totoo. I love how
Eh,
you raised that. No? Tingnan mo, someone wrote politics of recognition also. And that speaks to power, 'di ba? Na the
right,
fact that
right,
the fact that people are now being more sensitive, 'di ba? That speaks to
right,
power eh. And you are also right na generally hindi siya iwas sa kultura nating mga Pilipino kasi tayong mga Pilipino very respectful. Ayaw nating nakaka-offend. Alam, 'di ba, you mentioned you went to Australia o kaya you went to other western countries. Kultura nila na okay lang na maka-offend sila as long as they're being honest and upfront. Sa atin mga
right.
Pilipino, 'di ba, hindi tayo ganoon. We are very mindful of people's emotions. We're very mindful of people's moods. So what can you say about that respect factor on it?
I like it. I like it because I think it's inherent for everybody to be respectful,
Yeah.
no? And I think marami akong naniniwala ako na respect should be given to everybody.
Mhm.
You know, it's as a human being, no?
Right.
In general, as a human being, you have to respect the person. But at the same time, I think similar to what you have said, it's because Filipinos in our culture, no, in our values at the early stage, tinuruan na tayong maging marespeto.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Bata ka pa lang sasabihan ka na magmano ka sa lolo mo
Mm.
o humalik ka sa lola mo, 'di ba? So, yun yung at the early stage we were asked to use po and opo,
Right.
'di ba? So, and I think it's around that, no? So we are generally respectful and it's translate in our day-to-day activities unconsciously.
Right.
Unconsciously, to be honest. Siguro mabibilang mo lang sa daliri mo yung mga taong na-interact mo na hindi marespetong tao, no? And mahirap 'yon kasi it's hard to change the upbringing of a person, no? But
Right.
para sa atin, regardless of your stature and your kalagayan mo sa buhay, no? Merong mayaman ka or mahirap or okay lang, lahat naman tayo natutong rumespeto at an early stage.
Correct. I think, Onil, yung tama yung, ang ganda ng sinabi mo kasi that means that inclusion is not foreign. 'Di ba? Yung inclusion is not a foreign value. Kasi if tayo ay hindi marespeto, kasi inclusion comes with respect, 'di ba? So what you're saying as an argument right now is that natural sa ating mga Pilipino yung maging marespeto. Kaya tingnan mo, nagiging part siya ng customer service. Nagiging part siya ng training. Di ba? May nagsabi kanina dito that it's starting to become part of training. Right?
Right.
So it's a politics of recognition. So there are elements on our culture, respect for one, that actually is aligned with inclusion, diba? With inclusion in general. And another thing that I would like to raise is our culture kasi is generally what we call a collectivist culture. Yung collectivist culture is relationships are very important to us. We want to offend people less. That's why yung mga ano natin, yung mga 'di ba yung pamilya natin, umaabot yung closeness dun sa mga third, fourth levels of consanguinity, 'di ba? Mga pinsan ng pinsan ng
Ng
pinsan,
pinsan, correct.
ano.
Asawa ng pinsan, di ba?
Pero
Yeah,
close pa
absolutely.
rin. Pero medyo close ka pa rin, 'di ba? Kahit na gano'n. Kasi natural sa atin na i-prioritize yung relationships natin kumpara sa individual needs. So yung ganong level is very, if that's natural for us, or someone wrote here collective ideology, if that is natural for us, then that means that inclusion is not a stretch, 'di ba? It's a value talaga that we have in our culture, and we can tap it if we think that we are not doing it correctly. So, ay maraming
Right.
salamat everyone for participating in this no no this exercise sa ating ano.
Really good, no? To kick off that question and answer piece, no, on the mom sir aspect.
Yeah, and I will save this because this is really an awesome input for everyone here. Maraming salamat for your participation, everyone. Okay, I'll close na the annotate first. Okay. Now, Onil, let's go a little bit technical naman, no? Like in workplaces, a lot of also studies have shown that there are different stages of diversity and inclusion. And one of the models is this one, that these are some of the stages of diversity and inclusion. Wag niyo na lang pansinin yung mga smileys ha. They're not relevant. Pero, so the following stages are for organizations or for workplaces, sometimes you need to do buy-in first, and then eventually you go to awareness, and then programs, policy, and benefits. And a lot of the people here in the room are probably seeing this the first time. So, Onil, could you please run us by what these stages or this process actually mean?
Absolutely. Thank you, John. Buying in is around talking to someone in authority.
Mm,
In saying that we need to have activities, programs, policies, benefits
mm,
related to LGBT because yes, we wanted to be treated equally, no? But at the same times, we have our needs as well,
yeah.
no? May pangailangan tayo or unique na pangangailangan, no? Hence, we need to come in together as a minority
Mm,
to be able to address that need, no? So buying in is talking to your senior leaders in the organization in saying that we will need an employee resource group
mm,
and building a business case about that senior leader being able to support and champion that particular resource group. Well, specifically the Pride Network, no, the LGBT network, which is what PFIP is about.
mm,
It's bringing in the members of the community in an organization to drive LGBT events.
right,
And this event doesn't necessarily mean that we are, that we are special. No,
right.
it's just that we have a community that has unique na mga pangangailangan, like our transgender, employees,
Mm,
diba? Um, sorry, excuse me. Sometimes, in the absence of a gender neutral restroom, how will you be able to address the situation where people will judge them?
mm,
You know, let's say our transgender woman employee will go in the female restroom. We do not have a policy if you don't have programs and awareness session.
mm,
Um, you know, people will not understand.
yeah.
No? In let's say for example in that context, no, at least in majority of the organization in PFIP, no, setting up an LGBT employee resource group will be able to collectively hear our voices in terms of our needs, no. It's not anymore the want, because pag-ihi is a it's a necessity, no? It's a pangangailangan ng tao. It's human nature, no? So and we should be able to protect our employees, to be able to allow them to use company resources such as restroom at
Mm,
their own disposal without being judged, no? So I
mm,
think that's really important. So that's buying in, talking to your senior leader. The second one is creating awareness. In the office, people, again, going back to their question around respect, people, regardless of their structure, whether they are senior manager, frontline manager, they are their staff, the cleaning ladies, the security guards, etc. It's important to be to have that level of awareness around the LGBTQ acronym and what it stands for,
Mm.
because I think this is where issues will happen when people are similar to the first question, no, excluded,
Mm.
not normal, not accepted. Again, we're generally respectful people,
Right.
and sometimes people do not intend to offend, but because of their lack of awareness, this
Mm.
is where, you know, dito tayo nagkakaroon ng problema eventually, no?
Yeah.
Um, and the next level is around programs, no? Programs around not just engaging with your LGBT employees, but also using and leveraging your allies,
Mm.
no, your straight allies and your straight friends,
Mm.
no. You need to have a program that will help them understand through awareness sessions, SOGI session, LGBT 101, no.
Mm.
These are programs that will help you know, validate, you know, any company values or any company, you know, culture, no, that we wanted to establish.
Mm.
um that's the third stage. Now when you're more ready, John, this is where you will be able to actually make proposal on changes on policies,
Yeah.
no. Gender neutral restroom, transgender policies, the dress code policies when we were not working remotely. This is a big issue, right? So in majority of the organization, you have to dress up with the gender that you identify with, no.
Mm.
Based on your gender. Let's say kung lalaki ka, dapat lalaki ka. Kung babae ka, dapat pang babae. So, now you will see organizations, no, that when they prescribe dress codes, yes, there we still have dress codes, but
Mm.
when you prescribe it, you will not say eto pang babae, eto pang lalaki, no. So
Mm.
basically, just prescribe what's acceptable.
Mm.
Polo shirt is acceptable for everybody. You know, skirt, basta hindi naman super mini skirt. Kasi of course, we need to maintain that level of professionalism as well, diba? Or not a plunging neckline. So if I go to the office with a shirt that
Mm.
is plunging, I will be called out because, you know, not because I am wearing that uh, na lalaki ako, na gay ako. I will be called out because that's not office appropriate, whether you are lalaki or you're babae.
Right.
Diba? So that's around the policy aspect. Now, the benefit aspect is that being able to, I think primarily, and I'm very proud of this, no? Through PFIP, we were actually able to encourage organizations to allow um, people in the community, LGBT community, to enroll their same-sex partner as
Mm.
part of their beneficiary in health benefits,
Right.
in their retirement benefits, you know, in their medical benefits. So this is like the more mature one, the more mature organizations, no. You know, I'm really proud to say that majority of our member organizations in PFIP offers this, no, to their employees. So we term it domestic partners, no.
Yeah.
So we term it domestic partners because we don't want to be exclusive. You know, we are fighting for inclusivity, no? So what we want to happen is that uh, we term it domestic partners because it's not only available for same-sex partners,
Mm.
but it's also available for uh, a heterosexual relationship, but they're not married,
Right. Right.
right? So, of course, what about them? Alangan naman magtayo naman ng another organization na the unmarried with a partner, So, it's like that, no? So, and that kind of benefit will also probably yield, no, yung productivity increase, loyalty, engagement, etc. So, it's all around that, no? So, regardless of where you are in that stage, the buying in, having the support of your senior leader, creating that awareness not just on your members of the community in your organization, but from your straight allies, or basically all employees. Creating programs is about, again, coupling it with education, but ensuring that you have a seat on the table, no? And then the fourth one is around changes on policy, and then the last stage is around driving changes in benefits.
All right. Thank you so much, Onil. And I would
All
slightly
right.
also highlight what you said, no, na while this process, like what, while it may look a bit daunting for people, the fact is, syempre yung benefits that come with the diversity and inclusion in the workplace is also a bit high, considering na a lot of studies have shown na how the organizational impact has translated to productivity, to creativity, to innovation, acceptance, ganyan. Kasi, syempre yung happiness index ng workplace tumataas if people feel that they can express themselves. And if, di ba sinasabi nga nila, happy workers equate to productive workers. And that is basically what we're eyeing through these different steps. And it's not just like LGBTQ is part of that whole big group that have to be accepted. But just like what you mentioned, sometimes may mga ibang group nga na ganyan, unmarried, tapos they also would appreciate the benefits of their partners. Pwede rin silang makakuha doon. I would like now to ask people, for the people in this room, which stage is your organization in the diversity and inclusion process? So di ba pinakita na natin may buy-in, may awareness, may policy, and may benefits. Saan sa tingin nyo yung organization nyo dyan? Linagyan namin ng option na none kasi baka wala pa no? So okay lang, feel free. Feel free to answer if wala pa talaga kayo doon sa diversity and inclusion. Pero saan sa tingin nyo in your organization na yung existing? Ayan. Thank you so much. Ang bibilis. Nakakatuwa, Onil, no? Ang mga tao.
I know.
Sumagot sa Mentimeter. Sanay na talaga sila sa Menti activities. See, there's 11.
God, first time, again, similar to what I said to you, when and just for everybody's awareness as well, first time that I have been in this very interactive session, no? Usually when we're being invited to be part of an activity or an event, it's primarily just us talking, no?
Yeah.
But this one is so interactive, and I think I find it more valuable to have an engaging conversation so people can actually learn and participate, and to be able to understand what they're thinking and where they are, in answering those questions. I think it's really powerful.
Yeah. So like for example, right now, Onil, no, you have some 20 plus people in the room responding, and there seems to be a pattern now in the responses. So what can you say about this one? What can you say about the responses of the people?
I love it. I love it that we are done with the buying in. Because I think that's majority the difficult part, no? Getting the buy-in, no? So I think the stage of creating awareness is very, very important, no? And I think having sessions such as this in understanding LGBT, understanding what it means, no, and not just for employees, John, but for the people that we interact on a daily basis. And I'm very, very particular with this, no, because when we talk about workplace, we just talk about our co-workers, no, our colleagues, our line managers, the boss, the boss's boss, but we also have people who keep our workplace okay.
Yeah.
And these are the security guards, the cleaning ladies, the messengers, these are the people that needs to have that level of awareness as well on the LGBT acronym,
Correct.
uh, because we deal with them whether we like it or not on a daily basis. No?
Yeah.
So when we talk about awareness, I hope that that's awareness encompasses everybody in the workplace. No,
Right.
um, but I like specifically around people who are already on the program stage. I'm sure that these are people who or organization that have a program pertaining to the development of their LGBT workforce,
Mhm.
whether it is in leadership, whether it is self improvement, etc. And five, actually around policy already, they are modifying, I guess, the standard
Mm.
format of policies already.
Right.
But one is not bad, when it comes to, changing the benefits aspect. No, in fact, I'll talk about it a bit more. No,
Mm.
I think it's important that if you're a member of the community, that you look for an organization that offers uh, a really good benefit when it comes to domestic partnership,
Correct.
because you'll never know when you will need it. No?
Mm.
This is one thing that I look for when I join an organization, somebody who will acknowledge my partner
Mm.
as a partner. No?
Yeah.
So whenever I need to file for a carer's leave because I have to take care of my partner, then they will no questions asked. Hey, that's not a immediate family. You're single technically, so technically, you can only do this if it's your parents, no, etc. No, so my I encourage people to look at the organization who will look at recognizing at least at an employment level your partner. No,
Right. I like that you mentioned that, Onil, because there are a lot of studies that have shown that the reason why organizations are now beefing up on diversity and inclusion, apart from happiness, is because the LGBT community are very good and attractive employees to have. Alam mo yun? Kasi syempre, masiyahin. Alam mo yun, generally, di ba? Like the crowd is very vibrant. Kasi we're always associated with some stereotypes, di ba? Comedy, ganyan, or something. But and I mean, it's okay that people get to recognize some of the beautiful things about how every time magkakaroon ng Miss Universe, maglilive yung mga yan kasi manonood sila, so half day na kaagad na
right.
wala yung ating mga kabaro. And that's okay. 'Di ba? That's okay because the identity is starting to come up. Pero apart from that, you will see a lot of members of the community who are really doing very well in their work. 'Di ba? You, for example, of course, sila Chris and sila Dennis, at you, as you can see, 'di ba, si Mori, I saw Mori Rodriguez in your video a while ago. And a lot of these people are doing very well in their respective fields because they probably felt that they could already express themselves, and they had very less inhibitions. So I'm so happy that awareness is now starting to peak. Alam mo siguro mga like 10 years back, baka nga wala pa tayo sa
Nako,
IE, no,
baka
Onil?
nasa zero tayo pag
Oo, baka
ginawa natin
nandun
itong
tayo
session
sa
na to 10 years ago.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even for those people who are in none, I hope this session is helping you. Kasi they have stages, di ba? The process of inclusion has stages. And being simply sometimes being aware of the stages, baka mamaya dahil umattend na kayo dito sa session na to, alam niyo na kung sino yung hahanapin niyo sa inyong mga leaders na kailangan makakuha kayo ng buy-in for. Right? Kasi that's very important, di ba? Sa projects natin, O'Neil, di ba, kahit naman hindi inclusion-related project, kailangan mo ng sponsor eh. Kailangan mo ng,
Right.
kailangan mo ng ninong. Kunyari magpa-approve tayo ng outing, ganyan. So, kukuha ka kasi syempre,
Kailangan mo ng pipirma sa
correct.
budget, John.
In the Philippines, di ba? In the Philippines, ganun pa rin kasi nga collectivist tayo na society. We love relationships. So sometimes you have to look for the person who will champion your cause. So look, eto yon. So for the non, hanapin nyo na kung sino yung inyong hihingan ng buy-in. Kasi pag nakita nyo yung value na yon with that person, it will become a journey for you instead of a task. Just like what a lot of us have gone through. Di ba, Onye?
Right. And when you go back to your organization, having DNI programs, no,
Hmm.
specific to LGBT, it's not only a good business sense, but it's the right thing to do.
Correct.
We are in 2021 already. No, I think people will need to mature in terms of understanding, who we are, that we exist. We have been existing for what, centuries already. And I think we need to make sure that in the coming centuries, that we set the ground and the foundation so that they will not have to face the struggles and the challenges that we have to face this time.
Right. Thank you so much for that. And now, we can crowdsource even more on it, no? So now that we have shown the different stages, maybe we can ask naman people in the room for their experience on these different stages. And we prepared a Padlet for everyone. So the Padlet is in the chat box, and all you have to do is to click that. And you can enumerate what do you think are various practices that you can suggest in the following stages. So ano yung paano kayo makakapag-participate? Just click the link in your chat box. Okay? Click the link in your chat box. Tapos start encoding underneath each. Meron diyang add function. Yari, creating buy-in. Ano yung tips nyo sa tingin nyo na nag-work in your organization and in other organizations? If you want to include a GIF or a photo, feel free. Kasi in Padlet, you can also insert photos, no, so that it can be a little bit more fun. Like for example, creating buy-in. Pwede tayong maghanap ng, ano ba, meron yatang GIF na function dito. Upload.
Oh, John, I like what somebody wrote in here in terms of the policy, no?
Okay.
Onboarding. It can mean a lot of things. Onboarding new hires, absolutely, absolutely. At the onset, it's important that if we talk about values, no, not just
Yeah.
for the organization, but also ensuring. I remember facilitating or introducing the Pride Network, to our new hires, at
Yeah.
ANZ, just to
Correct.
make sure that at the onset palang, they know that they are entering a welcoming and accepting organization.
Right. Correct.
Diba?
And maganda yun, di ba? Kasi syempre, the first impression and the first experience that a person will feel in the organization will last a long time eh. Di ba? It will last a long time. So, and that
Right.
contribute to the retention of that person. Eh, paano kung key talent yon? Di ba? Paano kung yun pala yung
Right.
nagdadala ng targets na gusto nyong ma-achieve, especially during this time, right? So you can see, and here, nakakatuwa din dito, tingnan mo sa creating buy-in. Show figures and numbers about D&I and how it can help the organization. Alam mo, that's
Ha.
true. Kasi di ba, our bosses, they communicate based on impact and numbers, right? So if
Right.
you're looking at buy-in, the suggestions here are very helpful. Again, for those people who want to participate pa further, no, you can go to Padlet in the link in the chat box. So this was pasted by Gio. Um, for those who have not seen it yet because you just entered the room, I'm going to paste it again. So yeah, there you go. So, and we have a lot na here, Onil. So, creating buy-in, for example, is showing figures and numbers about DNI. Onil, baka merong something that resonates a lot with you. Anong
You're
best
right.
nakikita mo na talagang sobrang nag-work for the organizations that you work in, nag-work for PFIP?
I think the buy-in is like this. when you talk to your senior leaders around, the awareness programs, policies, benefits, etc., it's leveraging on organizations that are already doing it,
Right, correct.
like members of the PFIP, member organization of PFIP, no? So we will able to grow because and we were able to onboard a lot of new member organization like the likes of Coca-Cola,
Yun.
halos lahat ng major multinational organizations are members of PFIP, no?
Mm.
um and it does make good business sense when you talk to your leaders and say, sila member, tayo hindi.
Yeah.
'Di ba?
Ano
I
yun, ang
mean,
tawag
that's
sa
always
strategy?
the
Ang tawag,
case,
ang
right?
tawag sa strategy na yan, Onil, is fear of missing out, di ba? Yung tinatawag natin na fear
Correct.
strategy. Na everyone is already in the
Yes.
bandwagon of diversity and inclusion kasi you want to spread love and happiness in the workplace. Where are you?
Right.
Where are we? Di ba?
Correct.
Where are we in that picture? So
Correct.
it's important that people can communicate that upwards kasi baka kaya rin medyo toxic some organizations. It's because people cannot generally express themselves and they do not feel safe, right?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, and again, so many like here on it, creating a survey on gender needs of LGBTQIA++ community in the office is how you can also create buy-in. Try to reach out to
Mm-hmm.
local organizations that can help you, like for example, PFIP, right? And in terms of awareness,
Right.
running webinars focusing on DNI, learning sessions on DNI, facts and myths. Ito, Onil, pwede nyo itong gamitin. Facts and myths to enable people to have understanding on DNI. Kasi that's, di ba, you have to be a little bit cooler now in terms of your webinars, just like what we're doing. If this is just
Right.
a normal webinar, why will people want to attend, di ba, for an hour and a half?
And
So,
people can relate, and people can actually appreciate it more if if things that they're hearing is something that is relatable, no?
correct.
Something that they that is timely as well, no?
Yeah,
And I know that we're doing this not just because it's Pride Month,
right.
but primarily because we wanted to make sure that we equipped everybody within our reach in terms of having that level of awareness. No,
Right.
you'll be surprised, even people that you are close with, no, na tipong talagang alam mo na, "Ay, ano yan, inclusive yung work, yung ano yan, yung teammate ko na yan." Pero when you ask about the differences,
Mm.
um, they actually do not know,
Yeah,
and sometimes that scares me because they still refer to, let's say, Ice Segura as tomboy, where in fact he is a trans man.
right. Right.
And you don't call that person a tomboy.
Yeah.
'Di ba? So yun yung mga klase ng information na sometimes iniiwasan natin. It's because we love them. We want to make sure that they are aware and at least
Yeah.
educated.
And they are respected and they feel they belong. Kasi like sometimes these statements on people feel na joke lang naman yan eh. Di ba? Yung kunyari,
Right.
oh yan yung tomboy, o kaya, oy, bading, ganyan, and stuff. And and sometimes people feel na, hindi, biro lang. Alam mo yun, para makapagpatawa lang siya or
I
alam mo
know.
yun, di ba? That's the general Filipino thing eh. You want to be likable, so you want to be the
Right.
person who will start to have fun. But sometimes that fun is at the expense of other people who will start to feel unsafe, right? So,
And I agree with you, John. I agree with you particularly on this. No, so when you call somebody bakla
hmm,
or tomboy, or bakla, or mare, etc., you expect it from somebody you are close with.
right, right,
No, but if I mean, if we are not close in the office and somebody will call you, "Hoy, bakla," I mean, 'di ba? So, ano to?
yeah,
'Di ba? So, iba yung dating. So, people will need to understand that, yes, we are fun, we are okay, but of course, there will be limitations, no?
correct,
And sometimes it is reserved for, again, it's reserved for that connection or that that relationship with that one another. So
Correct. And I guess it also comes with the awareness na how those terms of endearment will be used, di ba? Kasi
right,
for example, ang sasabihin ng mga tao is, bakit sila nagtatawagan sila ng bakla pero hindi offensive, right?
right,
Pero
right,
a lot of people, di ba, parang will think na, that's because there is no threat. That's because
right,
it's coming from a position of endearment and love instead of like when
right,
another person will say it, tapos the misconception could land na pag tinawag mo na bakla tapos yung pagkakasabi mo pa is medyo insulting, then it's the insinuation that translates into the judgment that where people will start to feel unsafe in. So
I
again,
absolutely agree.
a lot of these are awareness issues, di ba? And a lot of these are natural for us because we want to respect others. And siguro for the benefit of the people in the room, no? So a lot, ang dami ng mga na-share. Like in programs, we have including diversity and inclusion in gender development, organizing academic festivals that empowers inclusivity. Can you imagine that? Ensuring that the
Right,
programs will be beneficial for the staff so that the staff will not just be pushed to join. Rather, they will take initiative to be part of it. Ang gaganda ng mga
right.
sinusulat ng mga
I know. Ang ganda ng mga ganitong klaseng ano no commentaries. Primarily alam mo pag sumali ka sa organization na may mga business resource group or employee resource group,
yeah,
not just Pride Network or LGBT group. I think the key there is your members or your group should be able to drive this
right.
changes because you cannot expect HR to drive it for you,
Correct.
because at the end of the day the beneficiaries of this will be you, your group, our community, no?
Correct.
So it's important that you have that initiative to drive it, no? And
Correct.
don't rely on other people, because sometimes yes our allies are there, but the best person to do it with are you, members of the community.
Right. And kasi there is something at stake, right? There's something at stake. You hold that value because you know that you will be able to benefit from it. That's why you will really fight for it. You will communicate and
Right.
articulate that vision, the that you have. So, as a gift for people, alam niyo po itong Padlet, one of the most beautiful things here, especially for our learners in the room is, you can just save this link and go back to it again. Kasi this link can be your guide, especially the ones na mga kanina nandun sa sinasabi, nandun sa zero na nasa zero stage nung stages of diversity and inclusion. Pwede nyo pong isave tong link na to, tapos balikan nyo. Kasi a lot of the insights of the people in this room are actually based on experience that have worked for them. And this could also work for you, right? This could also work for you. So please feel free to save the link in the Padlet. Again, that's the one in the chat box, and I will paste it again para just in case it gets lost in your chat box. I-save nyo po yan kasi you can continue encoding here. This Padlet is immortal. This Padlet link is immortal. We will not delete this for you. All right? So now that we were able to at least carry on and discuss the different things that we add to Onil, I think it's also time for us to maybe ask freely from our audience their questions. So the audience can go to Mentimeter. They can go to Mentimeter, and we can probably spend around 10 minutes, diba, from the audience about what their questions are. Diba? Ano yung questions niya about diversity and inclusion? And again, as Menti is a very safe environment, please feel free to encode your questions. Tapos, the good thing about the Q&A function in Mentimeter is pwede kayong mag-like ng mga questions na sa tingin nyo, pinaka-relatable sa inyo. Right? So yes, feel free to encode your questions in Menti, and Onil here would be very much honored to shed light and
It will be a pleasure. It will be a pleasure to answer questions from our audience. And again, it's a breath of fresh air for me. Yeah? Most interactive invitation that I have received. No, thank you, John, for giving me this opportunity. I'm happy to
Oh,
take on any questions again related to workplace inclusion. Again, why it's important, my struggle, my story. It's okay.
right. Siguro to get things going on, if people are still waiting or people are still like thinking of how to phrase their questions, let me ask you na lang in terms of the movement of PFIP, what was your biggest challenge? What was your biggest challenge in getting the movement into where it is today? Kasi hindi madali yung ginawa nyo, o yung ginagawa nyo, hindi siya madali. Una, dahil it's against a lot of people, the awareness part is low, so medyo feeling nila against the norm yung movement. Tapos even in our community, medyo there was a time when hindi pa ganun ka-united yung mga tao kasi we are also a bit confused with who we are, our problems. So what was the biggest challenge that you encountered before we go to this question?
I think the biggest challenge is being able the first step in the journey
Mm,
is being able to get the buy-in,
right.
because once you get the buy-in, everything will fall into places.
Oh,
Ripple effect na yan eh. So
right.
then the first step will always be the most difficult.
And that is to look for
No,
a person that will support you in the leadership.
correct.
Right.
Correct. So that is the most difficult, because of course you have to understand the profile of the person. You have to understand, your current culture in your organization. No,
Right.
that's the most difficult part. But the good thing about it is that we have already paved the way
Mm,
as PFIP. No, again, from 5-member organization in 2013 to 50 plus organization now, with 3 locations
right.
in chapters in Cebu and in Baguio. No, we want to make sure that we have or create opportunities for our community regardless of the industry that
Correct.
they are in. No,
Right.
so again, getting that buy-in, John, is critical, but you have people that can support you now. And the challenge, if you're gonna ask me, sorry, last one bit, the challenge that we face now is how are we gonna onboard local organizations?
Right, right. Thank you for raising that into our awareness, O'Neill, di ba? So that if we're
Right,
mindful about those challenges, we can actually anticipate and plan ahead. Now, we have
right,
7 questions now, O'Neill, and we're going to try to do this in a couple of minutes. The first question
right.
here that people like is, what kind of programs would you suggest to increase awareness amongst top management and HR in organizations?
It's LGBT 101 and
Okay.
SOGI awareness session. These are the programs that PFIP can help you with.
Ayan. So, is it okay, Onil, if you're comfortable for you to share your contact detail, or for example, your email in the chat box para people can already reach out to you. Like if they have any needs or if they want to become a member, for example, of PFIP. Like for example, ako, I would want pwede ba kaming maging member on yung positive workplaces kahit na hindi kami financial organization, mga ganyan. So,
Absolutely. So when we first started, John, it's just financial, because at the beginning it's just ANZ, Deutsche Bank, Wells Fargo, HSBC, and Thomson Reuters. But we started to see like the Chevron reaching out, the Shell, the Unilever. So I was like, okay, so we want to be inclusive, but we wanted to retain the legacy of the financial services that instituted this organization. No,
right.
so hence the name financial and inter-industry pride. So it encompasses all organization in different industries, and of course you guys are welcome to join.
Yes.
I'm putting in the email address here It's the secretariat at pfip.com.ph. That's the email address.
I'll write it here. Yeah, there you go. Secretariat at pfip.com.ph. I'm sure some people here will reach out to you because, as you mentioned, no, SOGI 101 tsaka LGBT 101 are the most important ones that you could suggest. And sometimes, hindi lang nila alam kung saan mag-reach out eh. 'Di ba? And now that you have different chapters all over the country and you can be reached also via Zoom, and thank you so much also for saying yes to us, they will know where to reach you also. So
And also just to let you know, John, we are translating our SOGI 101 and our LGBT 101 modules, no, in different languages,
oh
so
my
that we
God,
become more inclusive, different languages and dialects here in the Philippines. So that's
plus
something
one
to
for
watch out.
inclusivity. Yeah. There's
Of
another question
course.
here, Anil. Is there a framework or are there readily available tools that you can share with us as a guide when establishing a D&I culture in the org?
I think the framework is that you start. It's hard because when you talk about framework, you talk about like really, drafting it, no? Talagang pag-iisipan mo yung framework ng DNI, and especially when we talk about culture, no?
Hmm.
Um, I think all of us should need or can leverage on our own culture, and
Hmm.
that culture is about respect. When
Right.
somebody asks you about building a strong D&I program, you can always go back and say it's about respect for individual.
Right. And I guess this one could help them, di ba? Kasi this is a model,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah,
value
yeah,
stages. So you can double check where you are in this process and see if this will help you as it has helped other organizations already who has institutionalized D&I in their respective workplaces. Diba?
yeah. And take note, John, when we talk about D&I, it's very broad, no? So you have differently able or people with disability or
Yes,
persons with disability. You have women.
right.
Of course, you have the LGBT. So D&I is broad, no? So when we talk about it, it's around really respecting everybody, regardless of who they are. I guess that's the bottom line.
Yes, thank you, Onil, for that. This is a controversial question, and let me know if you're okay with this. Can you elaborate on the
Sure.
use of pronouns in the workplace? Like how to address awareness of someone's pronouns?
Right. In some organization, they will actually use their pronoun. They will put their pronouns in their emails.
Okay.
He, or she. Because they would prefer to still have their names, no? Let's say for example, Ryan. But of course the pronoun the preference is a she, no? Because Ryan is generally a male name, no? So I think most organizations are actually doing it, and most organizations as well are now in the form of an email, allows you to modify your email address, no? Depending on your preference, no?
Mm.
This is not about your preference whether you're gay or members of the community, no? It's about your preference on your actual name, no?
Mm.
Pronoun, I would say the best way to go about it is to ask.
Yeah, I like
The
that. I
best
like
way to
that.
go about it is to ask, because can you imagine, when you ask somebody, meaning you are respectful,
Yeah,
and you want to be able to be conscious not to offend. So
right.
that's the reason why we ask. So do not, I guess my suggestion at this point in time is that do not assume.
Mm.
Do not assume, and the best way to go about it is to ask that person, and that person will surely appreciate it.
Yes, and that's the same naman with a lot of preferences, Onil, di ba? Sometimes
Right.
before we give it, we generally ask so that we know that it's correct. So like for example, we ask people what their preferences are when it comes to working hours, di ba? Some organizations are mindful of that. Some organizations are also mindful of like people's preferences when it comes to meal schedules or something. And because they ask and they're getting some responses from people, then they benefit also from the collective response of those people who would be part of those preferences. And that's the same with pronouns, right? That's the same with pronouns. You know, right? So,
Yeah,
coming questions
and
on, oh my God,
it's
this is such great, there's such great
I
interest.
know, I love the questions.
Yeah. Any thoughts about using diversity quota in an organization? Does it help, especially to the minority members? Ayan. Meron ka na ba na experience na ganito? Kasi may mga organizations talaga na may ganito, no? May diversity quota.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I think this does not apply to LGBT per se,
Mhm.
but it's more applicable to
Okay.
women,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
more applicable to uh, persons with disability.
Correct.
And I think it's very important for organization, and it's very helpful for the organization to maintain that balance of talent. No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about purely about male and female employees. No? Because that's on that women is also a good DNI measure, no,
Right.
in the DNI space. So not on the LGBT aspect, no, but I think it's very important so that you're aware.
Yeah.
You're aware if your leadership or your organization are dominantly male or female. I think you need to have a balanced number.
Correct. And I would like to share this article also to everyone in line with what Honor was saying. Because these are articles that actually show that the better the diversity in organizations, the higher the performance ratio, right? So you will find this very helpful. For example, ayan, no, um, this is about gender diversity and correlating to financial performance. You see that? This is McKinsey. So if you can show in your organization how important diversity is, I hope this helps also answer that question, no? How diversity translates into performance. Onil, there are 8 more questions, but it's already 4:30 and I want to be respectful of your time and people's time. So is it okay if we just probably send you some of these questions and on, like, for example, next week, because next week what we will have is another session naman, but this time about creating safe spaces for inclusivity and diversity. Maybe we can save some of the questions on you so that we can ask also another group naman of people in relation to that. No? But generally, Onil, how are you? How do you feel about this type of session?
I I'm very happy again. Thank you for the opportunity, John, to talk to you and to talk to your audience. No, it has been a pleasure. And I think we can go on and on. If I don't have need to attend a meeting in about 15 minutes from now, we could probably, have this up until tonight.
Wow.
It's very informative. I love it. In again, thank you for the opportunity. And I think sessions such as this will help us, not just the community but our allies, the people who are not walking in front of us, not behind us, but walking beside us
Wow.
as we fight for our journey for inclusion.
Oh my God, thank you so much for that. And I hope this is not the last Onil, no, that we will be able
Absolutely.
to work with one another. Like I'd be glad to help you out on a lot of things also as part of my contribution to the community. So again,
Absolutely.
thank you, Onil, for this. For everyone, next week and the week after that, we have other topics, creating spaces for inclusivity and diversity. And then we also have navigating mental health naman in the workplace for inclusivity, 'di ba? Because na mental health is declining even in the LGBTQ community. So please join us in those sessions. You can follow us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube depending on your preference, please do. And please share to your friends because a lot of our learning sessions are free. And if this is something that will add value to your organization, just like what you had now, please make sure that you are updated based on what you are receiving from the information that we're sharing from Positive Workplaces. All right. So we are now going to share the post-evaluation link in the chat box. Okay. So, but while we are sharing that, is it okay if we get a photo op for this session? Ayan, nakita ko na si DJ Tracy, no? In the ano, para naman tayo mag-celebrate ng inclusivity. Ang bibilis, pag photo op, mabibilis yung mga tao umak talaga. So for those who are comfortable turning on their cameras, ayan, hello, I'm Annette.
Oh my God, John, we have such young audiences. I
know.
think these are the young audiences that I have ever attended. And we
I'm
could have
so
modified my language already.
Yes. And a lot of like even people in the office, no, thank you so much for coming in. Tayo po ay mag-photo op. All right. Okay. So, Kurt and Gio, I hope you can help us with the screenshot. Thank you so much for opening your cams, Miss Melissa, Lovelyn, Rachel, hello. Nice to meet you. Robelyn then, Riza. Okay. Right, first frame. First frame. Let's now take a shot. Kurt and Gio, please prepare. Ready, set, go. First frame. Ayan, smile. Nice. Second frame, everyone, just keep on smiling. Ayan. Wala palang tao yung second frame talaga. Second frame, okay. Good. And last frame, third frame. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. And Onil, again, maraming salamat. Please fill
Maraming
out the
salamat.
post-evaluation form in the chat box. All right, so that you can claim your certificate of attendance. Si Kurt and Gio have pasted it there. And we hope to see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice and safe week ahead. Also, thank
Happy
you.
Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride, everybody. Onil, thank you also. Pauline, thank you for being here again. I'm still looking forward to going to Enchanted Kingdom. Alam ko malapit na kayo magbukas. Hope to see you very soon. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Dennis also. Thank you, Miss Malu from Silang Cavite. Rachel, maraming salamat also for being here. Si Gian and si Christine LNC, maraming salamat. BJ Tracy, I'm sure you keep on referring us to your friends. And Patricia, very common names. Maraming salamat din. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next week. Bye.